If it wasn't discrimination. And you have the nerve, no, you have the nerve to sit there on your high horse and preach to these bottom-feeding dwellers who sit in the chat room, like Alliance Blog, who's been doing this for over a decade, still only got 2,000 followers. Yeah, I see you, you're a jabroni and a ham sandwich, and I don't want to hear from you ever again. About what the NWA is supposed to do. This is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. This is what the NWA is supposed to be. No. You don't tell anyone what the NWA is supposed to be, and you certainly don't lecture me about what the NWA is supposed to be. I made the NWA.
It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Welcome to the pre-party. Woo! Bells and whistles, ring, ring, ring. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Your final episode before the pay-per-view. This is the pre-party. I'm J. Cal, and this is a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Sorry about the lighting, guys. I don't know what happened. Everything's all squirrely in the studio today. As you guys know, hey, you guys are already here, man, and you're here and you're representing, and I'm so happy you guys are here. I very much appreciate you guys. I noticed that my chat box is a little small. You guys help power this show. You guys are 100% a fun part of this show, and your words need to be seen on screen. So when you talk, baby, everyone should be able to see what you're saying. So hopefully that enhances it so you guys can have your text up. But this is it, guys. This is the final episode of NWA POWERRR, just ahead of the pay-per-view. And I don't know about you guys, I've still been holding off on buying the pay-per-view. Personally, I believe that a card should be announced before anyone spends a lick of money. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the wrong guy. Maybe I'm doing things the wrong way. But sorry, if I'm seeming distracted. I'm trying to make sure that the font looks bigger on the screen. We had some a reset on the studio, and it's not exactly looking the way it should be. Everything looks jacked up right now. But we'll power through it nevertheless. Again, you guys are very much a part of this show, so please feel free to leave your comments, post in the chat. We've got a big show tonight, and I don't mean we as in the pre-party. I mean we've got a good pay-per-view coming up, and I'm very excited about it because it is good for multiple reasons, right? We've got a tag team title match, something that hasn't happened since October of 2020. The last time we saw the tag team titles was back on Prime Time Live. So it's very awesome to see that these belts are going to be defended. We also are going to have a number one contenders match with Thunder Rosa taking on Kamille. Now we know that the winner of this match, I should say, the winner of this match is going to go on to face Serena Deeb. We can only assume that's going to be at When Our Shadows Fall pay-per-view this next Saturday, June 6th. However, that hasn't been officially stated yet. If Thunder Rosa loses this match, however, she will be prohibited from wrestling anywhere else but the NWA. I've never quite seen a stipulation where the loser has to stay. It's usually loser leaves town. So I think that's pretty outlandish, if you will. But all the same, I think that's going to be a fun match that we're going to get to tonight. Hopefully it's a very clean match, and just like the pay-per-view, we get a good winner. Hopefully they have a good referee in the match, because at the pay-per-view we had anything but a good referee. And then also, man, this light sucks. What if I turned off some of the light? Maybe that would help. That helped a little bit. Hey, that's no. Oh well. Also on tonight's pay-per-view, on tonight's power match, we have Mims taking on the man who is undefeated in exhibition matches, and I'm talking about your world's heavyweight champion, the man with the plan, the real dealer, the real world champion. Nick Aldis will not be defending his title. Will actually just be in a exhibition match. So I know you're all looking forward to that. I know we're all excited about Nick Aldis defending that title in an exhibition match. So we have a couple things to look forward to, and I hope you're all excited. I hope you're all ready. If you are so inclined to pick up a ham sandwich t-shirt, we'll try to get the link in the chat going later, but you could buy that. We're actually putting that to good use, and I'll talk about that later in the week. But all proceeds from that t-shirt are actually going to go to support the Type 1 Diabetes Foundation, T1D. My daughter Claire, who is 8 years old, was diagnosed with diabetes last year, and juvenile diabetes, Type 1 diabetes, not Type 2. And we're actually raising money for research for the Type 1 diabetes to help find a cure. So all of the ham sandwich money, you guys are buying the t-shirts, and we've already sold like 8 of them. Any proceeds from those shirts are going to go directly to the fundraiser that we're doing for the juvenile diabetes walk in, I think it's October, maybe it's November, but more info as it goes. So I see that we've got a full house. You guys are already going. I do want to show something off because I made a purchase this week. I made a purchase from Dream Match Wrestling. I don't know if you can even see that, but this is something that I think many of you will agree might possibly be the coolest thing I've seen in a very long time. And I actually bought 2 of them, one for me and one to give away. And here it is. Dream Match the Pope versus Nick Aldis. That's the match I want to see. And hopefully we get that match sooner than later. One thing that we can talk about for certain with the NWA is this is it. The season is concluding. They're going back to taping more shows. So I'm feeling like maybe we're going to get a reprieve from what we've seen so far. Maybe we're going to get something new. Of course, there are new talents going to be involved with the show. We already know that Jazz is going to be part of one of the agents for the women wrestlers, so we'll hopefully see an improvement in some of the matches and the matchmaking and all that good stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to get to you and your comments. We'll get to the show in just a minute. But Jimmy's in the house. Lamb is here. I saw Fiona in the house. Matthew Underwood is here. He said Nick Aldis lurks in this chat. What a turkey sandwich. Maybe that'll be the next shirt. Sean Mega's in the house. Terry McDermott's here. Lamb is here. Doty's in the house. Always love to see Doty in the house. We've got Dave Scooby and Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump. You're all in the house. So let's go to your comments. Let's see. Terry McDermott says he's over Nick Aldis. I mean, you're not alone. Here's the thing about Nick Aldis. And someone clip this and show this to the world's heavyweight champion, because I think he feels like that we hate him over here. We don't hate Nick Aldis. I mean, that's the furthest thing from the truth. We want Nick Aldis to defend the 10 pounds of gold. We want Nick Aldis to wrestle. We want to see Nick Aldis in the ring. I want to point something out about Nick Aldis. Just grab my notes here. The national treasure Nick Aldis became world's heavyweight champion by defeating Cody Rhodes back in October of 2018. Since then, he has wrestled 41 times. In those 41 times, he has defended the 10 pounds of gold 28 times. Of those 28 championship matches, 11 of them have happened since October of 2019, which is when NWA Power kicked off. Aldis has defended the title twice on episodes of NWA Power. Trivia question, can you name who he's defended the title against? Leave a comment below. His next title defense is scheduled for this June 6th at When Our Shadows Fall pay-per-view. And if he is victorious in that match, he is also scheduled to defend the 10 pounds of gold in Charlotte, North Carolina, part of a fan festival. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but you can go to our website and see in the events calendar. We have that listed. So, I mean, my biggest problem with Nick Aldis, I should bring the mic closer, isn't that there's too much Nick Aldis. I want the right version of Nick Aldis. I want to see the national treasure, the dealer in the ring. I don't want to see convoluted storylines, and I don't want to see the puppet master pulling strings. I want to see him wrestle. He is a phenomenal wrestler. He's probably one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He's certainly one of the top 10 promos right now, and I don't think there's very many people better than him in wrestling, period, let alone the NWA, with the exception of one guy. Maybe that guy. But other than that, I think Nick Aldis is a phenomenal champion. And I want to see him defend the title more. But, you know, us ham sandwiches, we got to say what we got to say, right? And I really feel like Aldis has been a bit disappointing on this season of NWA Power. He spent more time outside the ring than actually inside the ring. And the fact that he has only defended the World's Heavyweight Championship twice in 2021 is very disappointing. So, to answer your question, Terry, I'm not over Nick Aldis. I just want the right version of Nick Aldis. Lamb says the card will be announced starting today's episode. Well, 2 title matches, the others next week for sure. You're probably right. Doty says we most likely will get who's the main event after today's episode. Agreed. Latimer versus Aldis would be a great match. And Dave Scooby wants to know who will be the ham sandwich champion. And, I mean, if it's not me, it's going to be one of you. So make sure you go out there and buy the shirt. Like I said, Big Papa Pump is in the house. Doty expects Thunder Rosa to win. I'm not 100% sure on that. Matthew Underwood says that Scott Steiner needs to bail out Puff. I don't mean to laugh at other people's misery. I think that's called Schadenfreude. But yeah, Big Papa Pump is actually in the big house right now. Dodie says he doesn't know about that, but if Kamille loses and loses her number one contendership, she will lose all her momentum. And if they really want to buy into her push, she's got to win. Woodland Goblin says that he saw Terry's comment in the NWA Facebook, and he agrees about Aldis. Woodland Goblin says he wants Kamille, and he's so Thunder Rosa out. Okay, that's new. Matthew Underwood said Rosa is number 2 in the AEW rankings. I think by the time it's all said and done, Thunder Rosa is going to be an AEW Women's World Champion. I just don't know if she'll be holding the World's Heavyweight Champion. The World's Women's Championship while that's happening. Dodie says Pope won't be facing Aldis in the next pay-per-view, though. He'll be easy for me to say. He'll be busy defending his own title. That might be true. Lamb says, happy birthday to Elijah Burke. Elijah Burke, if you are watching, brother, you're doing it right. You are making the NWA exciting. You are a credible champion. You have defended that title well. The TV division has been the most exciting part of NWA Power as far as I'm concerned. And that's including matches against Tyrus. So good on you, sir. Matthew Underwood says Mickie James will debut at the end of next season, 90 days. I mean, that's possible. I don't know. I want to believe that Mickie James can go anywhere she wants. The fact of the matter is, I think it's very easy for her to come to the NWA, and I don't know if she's ready for easy. I think she wants to be challenged, and I think she wants to have, I think she wants to control her own destiny. And I don't have a problem with Mickie James coming to the NWA. She's a great talent. She's phenomenal. And she would certainly make the division that much better, especially if we're about to lose Thunder Rosa. But yeah, I still would like to see what else she has left in the tank. I mean, maybe another Impact run, maybe AEW. Who knows? Lamb says we want to see Aldis wrestle, really, but suits and promos. Hey man, he's got that drip. But yeah, I look. I don't hate Aldis, I buy Aldis merchandise. I have, anyways. I'd like to see him wrestle. I mean, that's it. I just want to see him wrestle. That's it. Fiona just said, sorry, I'm jumping ahead here, that she saw that Allison Kay would be open to working with the NWA. I saw that as well. I actually listened to the interview that she did with Sean Scott Ross. I never get that guy's name right. The guy from Fightful. And I think, yeah, she'd be a welcomed addition to the show. I don't know if they're willing to give her what she wants. So she wants a little bit more autonomy. She wants to be able to do side projects. She basically wants to do what Thunder Rosa's doing, and I don't know that they're going to give her that same kind of freedom. So we'll see. Fiona says the suits are dynamite, Lamb. I mean, you're not wrong. Scott Steiner says, does anybody have any advice on how to stop watching the WWE? I doubt many of y'all watch WWE, but I really want to stop watching it. It's so I can have more free time, but I find it hard. Scott, little doses. You got to start microdosing yourself on the wrestling, right? So if you're watching Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, stop watching Raw and start focusing on SmackDown. And then whittle it down just to NXT. And then the slowly digestible episodes of NXT, start spacing those out. You don't have to let go of it, but you don't have to watch 9 hours of television every week. You just don't. Dodie says he hopes Jazz's involvement will bring better improvement into an already awesome women's division in the NWA. But since last Power season, it's still the best division in the NWA. I mean, it's kind of hard it's hard for me to say that. I think the best division in the NWA right now is the television title. Week in, week out, we either see matches to qualify to wrestle the Pope or the Pope wrestles. His promos have been lit. Like, the guy is dynamite on the mic. There's not anyone better in the NWA than the Pope. It's fact. And the fact that he could have a good match with Matt Cross, he could have a passable match with Tyrus, and he could have a good match with Fred Rosser, leads me to believe he could probably have a good match with anybody on the roster. And that TV title, again, it's the only belt that's got any continuity to it. You're seeing it weekly or maybe monthly on television, on their program. It's never out of the eye of the camera. He does a great job of keeping it relevant. And the storyline-wise, Challenger gets set up, challenger gets a match. Challenger gets set up, challenger gets a match. The only drawback to the TV title picture is the 6 minutes and 5 second time limit. We could all do without that. That's the only thing I would change about the division. Woodland Goblin says he defends against Trevor Murdoch in June if he is successful in June 6th. Murdoch, if I said that, maybe I said that incorrectly. The title defense would actually be July, I think, 24th. Maybe I messed that up. Matthew Underwood said, Scott Steiner, if you cut out Raw or SmackDown, that increases your smart rating by 33.3. I wish I knew that promo. That would be fun to repeat that. Fiona wants Kamille for champ. She loves Thunder Rosa, but she thinks Kamille will smash it. I tend to agree. I think that Kamille should win the title. And I think Thunder Rosa should win the title back. And I think there's enough time between now and the end of December to really establish Kamille as a great champion while putting Thunder Rosa in mini matches with Kamille and help both of them getting stronger and better. Lamb says 6 months and a few days until Rosa's contract finally ends with the NWA. I mean, that's been the writing's been on the wall for a while. Woodland Goblin says Aldis must be feeling the pay cut after Mickie James got released. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What can you say about that? She was a WWE superstar. She was making WWE superstar money. Even on the low end, she was still making good money. There is a difference, I don't know how many of you guys out there are two family incomes, but we are in my house, and if we lost a paycheck, it'd be tough. Scott Steiner says, are you going to be watching NXT tonight? I'm not a big WWE fan. In fact, I'll be honest, the only wrestling I'm watching these days is either associated with the United Wrestling Network or with the NWA. I don't even watch AEW. I rarely watch Impact. They're bringing in one of my favorite wrestlers, Satoshi Kojima, and I can't even be bothered to watch it. So, no. Terry McDermott says he doesn't hate Aldis, he just wants a new champion. Exactly. Sean says watch WWE YouTube clips instead. I mean, look, if you watch if you're on Twitter or on Facebook, you can see most of the show via clips. You can get your fix without actually getting into it. Dodie says only a jabroni who wants the NWA to have anything to do with the names of Vince Russo and Bruce Tharpe. Look, I have a perfectly good storyline for Bruce Tharpe if they ever want to bring him in, but nevertheless. Lamb points out that the advertisements of this week's NWA episode were on point again. Yeah, they kind of... Look, I don't know who sets up their social media accounts, but if I were running the NWA, one job that I would create is a social media manager who would literally send photos and clips to the talent to use each week and say, okay, it's Monday night, here's your pump, use these photos, because of the photos literally spoiled a lot of the show tonight. And I mean, I'm kind of bummed out about that because there's some spoilers that kind of, I mean, look, the Battle Royal, we knew what it was going to be already, but there's kind of some spoilers. It doesn't even look like it's going to be a 14-man Battle Royal anymore. By my counts, I've counted at least 16 different people in that match. I don't know if they were in officially or unofficially, but it makes it, again, it spoils the surprises. Not that there's huge surprises, but again, if you watch this show to be entertained, you watch this to get good wrestling, so it is what it is. Willie's in the house. What's up, Willie? Chris Drummond says he hates Aldis, and to be honest, Murdoch or Pope as NWA champion doesn't wow me. Hey, man, that's perfectly legit. I mean, I don't know outside of the Pope or Trevor Murdoch who on the brand could carry the NWA the same way that... I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think Trevor Murdoch can carry the NWA the same way that Nick Aldis has, but I do believe that the Pope could. I mean, that's my opinion. And if not the Pope, and if not Trevor Murdoch, Chris, who? Who's available to them? Let me know. Leave a comment. Fiona says, down to one paycheck. Yeah, that's rough. I'm sorry, Fiona. That's very tough. I can imagine for anyone in that situation, that's tough. Dodie says, Thunder Rosa lose. She cannot show in another promotion. Kamille lose. Her momentum and push in the recent pay-per-view will be gone. Nothing. Dilemma. I think what will happen is we're going to get a no contest, and they're going to make the match a triple threat. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's a way to keep both women strong. You're right, Lamb. By having Kamille lose, it destroys any forward momentum they have with her. But the problem is Thunder Rosa has been one of the most entertaining parts of AEW as of late. At least that's what I'm told. So to take her, remove her from AEW, I mean, that's Billy's right as he holds the contract. But I don't think that's the best move for the NWA, and I certainly don't think that AEW would take too kindly to that. Not that they're in there, the NWA is in business for the NWA. They're not here to push the AEW narrative, and if they want to withdraw their talent from the AEW, I don't blame them. Lamb says, maybe Melina and Taryn will interfere and we'll have a three-way at the pay-per-view. Well, you just read my mind. Terry McDermott says, the NWA and SW Fury are my favorites. NXT, I watch only the wrestlers I like and fast forward the rest. Fiona says, the social media game is still slowly improving. I'm disappointed with the photos of the Battle Royal contestants. Yeah, Fiona, me too. I mean, look, it's leaps and bounds better than what it was like 6 months ago, but now that they have stuff to talk about, they really should work it out with somebody, again, managing that social media content all across the board. Giving photos to the talent that are approved for use and making sure that you don't spoil storylines or anything else like that. Matthew Underwood says, a new champion needs to be a layover talent. Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, the Forbidden Door. Matthew Underwood says that the NWA should kick down that forbidden door and welcome Kenny Omega. Personally, I don't see that happening. Even if Samoa Joe was willing to come in, or Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, I just don't see the NWA putting it on one of those guys if it's going to be short term. With you, I am. I do believe that Samoa Joe would make a phenomenal World Heavyweight Champion. But if you take the World Heavyweight Champion and put that belt on a guy like Samoa Joe, who you're not going to have exclusively, then what becomes of the world title? And when do we see it again? And if it shows up in New Japan Pro Wrestling or All Japan Pro Wrestling or in AEW, does it still carry the same weight? Part of what the World Heavyweight Champion, in my opinion, it does need to be defended all around the world. And I do think that adds more to it. But when it becomes a part of a collection, I think it loses value and luster. Jimmy says, I do hate Aldis. I acknowledge his talent in the ring on mic, and I acknowledge the work of a heel. I just don't like how he acts. If there is a definitive OOC with him, he's too Hellwig. I'm not sure what OOC means, Spooner. I mean, Jimmy. Oops. Willie Bowen says, NXT, Raw, SmackDown stinks like a skunk. Lamb says, don't forget the new TV title on a white strap. Oops, spoiler. Oh, wait, never mind. Pope and Galley spoilered a few days ago. Yeah. But that white, look, I'm always going to be partial to the red belt. Okay? I have it here somewhere. I just can't get to it right now. But the white belt, I mean, that looks pretty hot. I kind of like it. Sean Mega says, Joe Galley should know better. First and foremost, nobody on this podcast will ever speak ill of Joe Galley, because Joe Galley retweets what we post, he shares what we post. Joe Galley's a part of this damn alliance. He's a part of the alliance, so he can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. Lamb says, don't be absurd. You don't trust us by now, Crimson. Yeah, there was a tweet a few weeks ago where Ron Gibson, our friend on the show, tweeted at Crimson saying that he wasn't going to buy the pay-per-view. I think he tweeted it at the NWA. And Crimson replied with, you don't trust us by now? And, I mean, I'm going to buy the pay-per-view. I'm going to buy the pay-per-view. But I do not want to buy the pay-per-view until the card's announced, because I really feel like that sets up a precedent that means that they don't have to give you a card to get you to buy the pay-per-view. And I hate that. And I don't want Fight to think that that's okay. I don't want the NWA to think that's okay. And if I'm the only person that's not buying the pay-per-view until the card's announced, that's fine. That's what I'll do with my money. And if I don't get the little $4 discount, that's fine, because those fight discounts never even worked for me in the first place. I cannot give my money to a company that will not give me a title match, or excuse me, not a title match, but a card listing. I want to know what I'm buying. That way, if I have buyer's remorse, that's on me. I don't want to buy something sight unseen and then just expect it to be good. That doesn't make sense to me. As a business owner, I wouldn't sell one of my items without the customer having an idea of what they're getting into, what it's going to cost them, and all that good stuff. The same thing should be said for the pay-per-view. $20? You want my $20 and I can't even get an announced title match? I get you don't want to spoil the world title match. I get that you don't even want to spoil the women's match. But you can't give me a TV title match. You can't give me a tag team match. You can't give me this stuff. That to me seems unprofessional. That to me seems like it's lacking credibility, and I'm not going to support that. Scott Steiner says he gets the only paycheck in his family. His wife is a stay-at-home mom. He makes a really good amount of money, but it sucks that some people struggle with money because of the pandemic. I mean, even without the pandemic, man, it's hard out there. It's real hard. And I get where some people, money is not easy. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm making such a stick about this $20 for the pay-per-view and the $5 for the weekly show. If it's not worth it, don't buy it. Don't just buy it because it says the NWA. I want the NWA to be good, but damn it, they gotta work for it. DKM says hell no on Omega. That's awesome. Willie Bowen says Watts should be wearing Sweet Charlotte in the future. Watts is kind of fallen off. I haven't seen Watts wrestle in a while. I know he's got a show coming up with Millennium Pro Wrestling here in Southern California, but Watts isn't in Hollywood. Watts isn't in the NWA. It's kind of disappointing. Terry McDermott says he wants Jordan Clearwater down the road. We haven't seen much of him. It seems like the NWA just refuses to use Jordan Clearwater, and I don't understand why. Lamb says, what should Brian and Joe do in the NWA? Taking their frustrations out so we have 2 months of promos. I mean, that's what you'd kind of get too, right? Jimmy said out of character. Okay. A lot of love for Joe Galley in the house. We all love Joe Galley. He's part of the Alliance. Sean Mega suggests that Crimson should win the Battle Royal. Crimson winning the Battle Royal would certainly set up some weird set of circumstances, but I wouldn't have a problem with that. It certainly would be something fresh. We haven't seen Crimson challenge for the 10 pounds of gold in almost 2 years, so there's nothing wrong with that. Lamb says, I will not buy the pay-per-view. I will wait for the feedback by you, Scooby, and Chris, and of course DKM and Kevin. Yeah, we'll try to figure out when DKM, Kevin, and I will recap that pay-per-view probably the following Thursday, since there won't be a new episode of Power. But we'll see how that works out. Matthew Underwood says maybe the next Nick Aldis crusade is Nick chasing the layover champion around promotions to get his belt back. At the end of the day, that this is Aldis' belt, and he's going to be near the top of the record books. Yeah, Matt, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Aldis having this huge amount of victories or huge length of championship reign. My problem with Aldis is that the title's been defended twice in 2021, and it is now May. My problem with Nick Aldis is even during the global pandemic, I get it. Oh, it was not safe to be out there wrestling, but he was still wrestling some places. He still didn't have a problem defending the belt in Texas, in North Richland Hills, Texas. He didn't have a problem defending the belt in Long Beach for Primetime Live. He didn't have a problem defending the title in Grimsley, Tennessee against Flying Brian Pillman Jr. He didn't have a problem defending the belt this past January in Nebraska. So that doesn't fly for me. The pandemic. Dude was still defending the title. He just didn't want to wrestle. And look, it's understandable. The title's only been defended 11 times. 11 times since Power has debuted. That's not even once a month. That's disappointing. Let's see. Woodland Goblin says, what if you don't like the card too much after it's announced? See, Goblin, I'm open to the card being because because I wasn't really excited about Stevens versus Aldis, and that was a good match. I wasn't really looking forward to Tom Latimer and the Pope, and that one was solid. Great match. I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. It just depends on what the match looks like. If you personally, as a consumer, if you don't think it looks good, do not spend your money on it. I think that's crazy to ask someone to spend their hard-earned money on something that they don't like. It doesn't not make you a fan. Look, I'm an Angels fan, and I haven't been to a baseball game this year, and I probably will only go to one or two. Why? Because the product is inferior right now. And even though they got two of the best baseball players in the game, they can't figure out a way to win. Why do I want to go watch a game where my favorite team loses? That seems like a waste of money. Now, same thing with wrestling. If the product isn't up to your standard, why are you going to spend your money on that? That makes absolutely no sense to me, and I can't support it. I just can't. So, there's a lot of you in the house, and I really hope you guys are enjoying the show. Again, we do this every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, right ahead of NWA Power. We'll be here next week, regardless of whether the NWA decides to put on a power surge or anything else like that. We'll still be here. Willie Bowen wants Jack Stain to win the Battle Royal. That would be a pretty good setup. Scott Steiner says, do you think the NWA will get a TV deal with a channel like WGN America or a channel like that after the Fight contract is over? I mean, I don't know how long this Fight deal is for, right? I mean, no one's really specified any numbers. All we've heard is that there was a a multi-million-dollar investment by Fight into the NWA to make this content exclusive. Now, I don't know. I don't have factual numbers. These are just speculation numbers that I've heard. But I heard that Billy Corgan spent 6 figures to secure the NWA from Bruce Tharp. So if you think about it, if Billy Corgan spent 6 figures, and let's say the high end of that is $999,999. If he bought if he is getting $2 million from Fight to make his content exclusive, and he still owns that content, then he basically has broke even, right? If he hasn't broken even, he's getting close. And I don't know what's going to happen for them after that. I feel like going to Fight and becoming exclusive to Fight might hinder their chances of having a show off of Fight. But again, I don't know what the contract, I don't know how it's worded. I don't know what they have available. I know that what made the NWA, the 10 pounds of gold, has been taken off of the airways. I think you can still find it on Facebook, at least the first few episodes. But it's not on YouTube, and it's certainly not on Fight. So, Sean Mega says, it's hard, especially in LA, too many homeless people. Yeah, there's a lot of homeless people out here. Lamb says, Watts had a match at Jamie Ivan's Ante Up versus Too Cold Scorpio. That's right, he did, and I missed that one. But Erlinda Martinez, hey, Erlinda, I don't think you've been on the show before, but welcome. Thanks for joining us. She says that I 100% agree, only fair to the audience. Yeah. Matthew says, J-Cow, I hear you loud and clear. The NWA was robbed of its incredible roster and momentum last year. No promotions. Suffered more. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a ton of momentum for the NWA, but the pandemic certainly it messed it up. And I mean, hearing Allison Kay talk about it, they were asked to take pay cuts while the pandemic was going on, and that's unfortunate. That's very, very unfortunate. I get that the NWA had to do some of that stuff, and if some talent wanted out of their contract, I know Royce Isaacs was released early, Ricky Starks was released early, Allison Kay, Marty Bell, a lot of the talent was released early. Zicky Dice, they held him till the end of the contract. Understandably so, because he was still champion up until like the end of October, November. So Fiona wants to point out that the NWA shop is up and running. Yes, I forgot to get to it. It is on here on my notes. It is up and running. All the merchandise is 40% off of this flash sale. But they do charge quite a bit for shipping, especially out of the country. Fiona said that they charged her $45 to ship it to the UK. That's rough. That sucks. But if you want your merch, 40% off. And I looked at it earlier today. I mean, you could still get the Royce Isaacs t-shirt. You could still get question mark gear. They still had some of the pay-per-views, some of the DVDs, the first season of Power, some push pins, some Thunder Rosa stuff. a lot of Aldis merch. There's a lot of good stuff there, so you should definitely check it out if you want to get on top of it. But DKM says he has no interest in the pay-per-view. Sean says Billy needs to pay Kevin to book the show. That would be something else. Scott Senior says I'll probably buy the pay-per-view. Depends on if my wife will let me. That pay-per-view is on my wife's birthday, so I'm probably gonna buy it, but I won't be watching it live with everyone else. Lamb says the Aldis Crusade had how many filmed matches? Imagine if he does it and it is not filmed by the promotions. I mean, there's a lot of those matches that weren't filmed. I mean, I can think of a couple of them, but yeah, I really feel like there was a way to make that the Aldis Crusade work in 2021 if they want to. We'll just see. Woodland Goblin says it sucks when the wife has control of the finances. Yeah, I mean, my wife might be watching, so I'm not going to say anything. Dodie says maybe Aldis doesn't defend the title recently because no promotion's interested in him recently. I mean, that could be true too, right? Like, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. And although Aldis has definitely earned some respect in the industry, you can't take that away from him. I mean, there's a reason why he's not on AEW. You know, if they wanted him, I think they could have had him. And I don't know if that's his choice. I don't know if that's their choice. But ultimately, yeah, there's less places to work right now unless you're under contract. And, you know, I haven't seen a return of House of Hardcore. I don't think AWL is back. I know he doesn't want to really work with United Wrestling Network anymore. And so, I mean, there are limited options. And when travel restrictions change, I mean, there's still a talk that they're going to take that title to the UK. When the title gets to, you know, when travel restrictions are gone, maybe that title goes to Japan. Maybe it goes to South America. I don't know. But I'm excited for the potential. Just in the interim, give me something different. Let me enjoy something different. Dodie says, if people are tired of Aldis recently, we certainly need new and interesting champions. I can't argue with that. Shawn Mega, hey, let's not talk about Trout. That man is a saint, and I won't have you besmirching his name. Lamb says, can't wait for the thrown together tag team titles matches at the pay-per-view. Yeah. Lamb also says, don't even know what happened to the Silent Storm team. I'm not sure, man. Stan says, hi Jay, Nick Aldis will be defending the World Heavyweight Championship at the T-Mart Gathering. I was informed that they won't be able to film the NWA title match. Thanks for the update, Stan. That's actually been on the calendar for at least a week now. But yeah, we were talking about that earlier in the show. He does have a title defense, Charlotte, North Carolina against Trevor Murdoch. And like you said, apparently it won't be taped for the show. That's a shame. Willie Bowen says Spike TV should be another consideration for a channel to broadcast NWA Power. I think it's called Paramount Pictures Television now or something along those lines. Sure. If anyone wants it, sure. Matt Underwood says, I don't think there is a go-away heat for Aldis. I think it's a lack of feeling for a true challenger for the belt. Pre-pandemic, we had Tim Storm, James, Marty, and Eli. Now we have Murdoch and the Pope. I mean, Matthew, you're preaching to the choir, man. Like, there isn't. And the way that they're building up the Pope, I'm totally good with that. The way they built up Trevor Murdoch, look, I want to root for Trevor Murdoch, but I don't feel that they did a great job building him up. He's been more of a victim than a challenger. And, I mean, with everything that Aldis has done to Trevor Murdoch, it makes sense. You get the belt off of him. Now he doesn't have that bid to go after the belt. But I really feel like they've just mismanaged Trevor Murdoch. Instead of making him this very credible babyface that we're all rooting for, I think we're just disappointed in him. At least that's my take on it. Terry says, I guess Billy's getting a tax break with the NWA. That's probably true. Lamb says, a lot of the talents bet on themselves, leaving the NWA and earn more money on the indies than with the NWA. That's also true. Stan said he bought the pay-per-view. DKM said he would book Aldis. Absolutely. Aldis is a great talent. That I've never questioned that. Lamb says the pandemic stopped their momentum. Yeah, it happened, but will this But will this be an argument forever? Every promotion step up their game. For the NWA saying they're the one of the top promotions, they have to step up. God damn it. Lamb, you're right. They can only say that for so long. Now we've got the first episode, the first season of Power in the books. It's all done. June 6th, it's a day that not only will be their pay-per-view, but they'll also start doing new television tapings with new talent, new faces, and I do believe that things will be different. If you watch this season of Power and you didn't like it like me, I would say hold on for season 2, or what is it, season 5, because now there's an opportunity. We're going to see something different. Now, if the first episode out of NWA Power, episode 30, I guess, is more of the same, then we're kind of boned. But I'm thinking, my optimism, my positive mental attitude, I really think the NWA is going to step it up. And now they kind of have to, right? Because at this point, you're right, Lamb, they cannot keep using the pandemic as a problem for moving forward. They got paid by fight. They've got money. They've got help producing the shows. They've got a studio. And soon they're going to be able to have an audience in that studio. There's no more delay. They have to start proving it. Scott Steiner's taking off. Be well, Scotty. Aldis has held the championship for years. It's a title many legends have challenged for and failed to win, such as Hogan, San Martino, Patera, Ventura, Piper, Morocco, Andre. Sure, man, you can keep going with Rowdy Piper. You did say Piper. You can go with DiBiase. You can go with Bockwinkel. Sure, tons of guys that should have held that title. Dustin Rhodes, Booker T. There's a lot of guys that should have been champion. Absolutely. That doesn't mean much, though. It's what you do with the title. Yes, the title has credibility. The title will make you credible. But if you sit on your ass and not defend the belt, it has zero value. It's a trophy, a trinket. You have to make what you want with it. If you're going to be one of the best, if your name's going to go down next to Luthez, then you need to put in the work that Luthez put in. Hell, you need to put in the work that Ric Flair put in. Hell, you need to put in the work that Adam Pearce put in. Hell, you need to put in the work that Rob Conway put in. Challenge accepted. Mega says we need fans back. Absolutely, Sean. Stan said, would you like to see Dane get another shot? Absolutely, I would. Woodland Goblin says, what was your favorite magazine in the 80s? I bought all the different ones. I was a PWI guy. I liked seeing the different articles back in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. The NWA, like I said, we had TBS, but we didn't really I didn't see everything. I didn't really know World Class that well. I didn't know a lot about the AWA. I was being in Los Angeles. We had the WWF. That was our thing. So it was kind of cool to see what else was out there. That's what I liked about PWI. And I've actually been able to interview some of the talent, one of the editors from PWI a couple years ago, and really kind of opened up my eyes. But yeah, PWI was my magazine. Yes, we need Fiona back in Atlanta. Absolutely. Doty says Aldis broke relations with the United Wrestling Network, even so far as blocking Dave Marquez. It is a very big mistake. United Wrestling Network gave the NWA a place to show themselves before Power, and they can be a valuable ally too in this crucial area. I agree, Doty. I really feel like, at the very least, if you're unhappy, okay, but let's work something out, because that would have been mutually beneficial. The NWA never really needed Marquez more than they needed him in 2017. They had no venue. They had no voice. And yes, there was people talking about what Aldis was doing, but there was no place to watch it except for in Hollywood, California. All those initial 10 Pounds of Gold episodes were filmed in Los Angeles. You know, the company's based in Tennessee. Their shows are in Atlanta. Their pay-per-view's been in North Carolina. But at the end of the day, if it hadn't been for Dave Marquez giving them that forum early on, they wouldn't have what they have now. You know, Cody would have never been as interested in the 10 Pounds of Gold if there wasn't a 10 Pounds of Gold series. DKM says, let's not overstate United Wrestling Network. Sure, man. I mean, it's to each his own. Lamb says, everyone should watch the Fightful interview with Allison Kay. Very interesting statements made there about the NWA process in the pandemic. Yep, I agree. Matthew says, I mean, UWN totally botched the Aldis Bennett match. One of the poorest produced cards I'd ever watched. So many technical difficulties. I mean, yeah. You can't make excuses. That was their time to shine, and they kind of blew it. Now, did production get better on primetime? Yes. Did the storytelling, pacing, everything else get better? Yes. I think they could have done that match a second time down the road, and it would have been a hell of a lot more meaningful, and it would have worked. Fiona says, I reckon we'll see some changes. I agree. And then Lamb says, imagine getting paid by fight and still produce not even solid shows. Hey, it's a possibility. Fiona says, yeah, I'm with you, Jay. I'm pretty sure that the powers that be are keeping a close eye on the response of the fans. They have to be, right? I mean, this is a product driven by fan support. If the fans stop supporting it, what's going to happen to it? Devin says, I'm not anti-UWN, but it's not the end of the world. You're right. It's not. It's not. The NWA, look, the NWA never has to do another thing with the United Wrestling Network and could still be exactly where they're at. However, in the middle of a pandemic, it would have been kind of cool if Aldis could have defended that title on Hollywood programming, or right now having him look, he lives near Nashville, I believe. I don't know exactly where, but I know he lives in Tennessee. A drive up to Memphis to defend that title would be good for the NWA, and it'd be good for him. See you later, Stan. I see that you're taking off. Lamb says, same for the NWA. Yeah. Matthew Underwood says, could Warhorse work in the NWA? I mean, look, the question mark was over huge, right? So the silly gimmicks will definitely work in the NWA, but when the roster is so big, like this is the land of the giants. I don't know that there's an average roster where the height is about 6'4" and up. Like the Pope is considered a small guy because he's only 6 foot. That makes Warhorse look very small, and I don't know how he gets over. But we'll see. Terry McDermott says the magazines were great in the day when you only had 2 or 3 channels. Absolutely. Dodie says, yes, the NWA needs Warhorse if the NWA can book it, of course. That would be kind of cool. I mean, like I said, in the right way, you have to do it the right way. Dodie says, like it or not, the United Wrestling Network gave a spot to the NWA. That's what the NWA needed the most, spot exposure. United Wrestling Network is not the end of the world, but there's no outside promotion more loyal to than the NWA than the United Wrestling Network. And that's true. You can't argue with that. And with that being said, man, it's just about time to end this show. I do want to say, here are my picks for tonight. I really think Mims versus Aldis is going to be a good showcase for Mims. He'll get a little bit of offense in, but at the end of the day, this is a tune-up match for Nick Aldis. He certainly needs it. He hasn't been wrestling much, so that'll be fun to watch. I do believe that we won't have new tag team champions. I do believe that the NWA tag team champions will not be decided tonight, and that we'll have another title match. I guess what I'm saying is Kratos and Stevens will be your tag team champions at the end of the night. I'm also going to go out on a line here and say that a 14-man Battle Royal winner is going to be Trevor Murdoch. I think it's a foregone conclusion, has been for months. I don't think they're going to surprise anyone here tonight. And I do believe that Thunder Rosa will be victorious tonight, thus negating a lot of the momentum built by Kamille, and hopefully that they can figure out a way to catch that back. With that being said, the regular house business, we are the Alliance blog. We are ham sandwich eating jabronis, and we have a t-shirt for sale right now. If you guys want to check it out, go to alliance-wrestling.com and check out the merchandise section. All proceeds from that shirt will go to help support the Type 1 Diabetes Foundation. I also want to suggest, if you guys like t-shirts like this one, you can get this one also on our merch store. We will also be here Thursday. Kevin, DK, and myself will be here to talk about what happens tonight on this show. We're on all social medias at the Alliance blog. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, what you're watching now on YouTube, all that good stuff. And lastly, if you prefer to listen to this podcast as opposed to watch it, we are on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we are on Apple. Just look for The Alliance blog. And I really do appreciate you guys checking us out every week in, week out. There's been 22 people watching this program since we started nearly an hour ago, and I do appreciate you guys being here. I've only ever asked for your eyeballs, and you've been kind enough to share them with me. So with that being said, we're going to call it a day. Let's go watch our favorite show, POWERRR, and we'll be here on Thursday to talk about it. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And until next time, For all you ham sandwich jabronis, I'll see you at the matches.